Hello everyone. In this session, we will take a structured deep dive into Process Builder. Not because it is the future of automation, but because many organizations still rely on existing process builders that haven't yet been migrated to Flow, making it essential for admins to understand and support them during this transition phase. For each agenda item, we will walk through real use cases wherever required, highlight key differences from workflow rules, and include live demos where applicable, like record creation, field updates, or scheduled actions. We will also touch upon Salesforce roadmap, which is deprecating Process Builder in favor of Flow. So understanding its strength and limitations is critical for both legacy support and migration planning. We will begin by understanding what Process Builder actually is, how it fits into the automation landscape, and where it stands compared to workflow rules and flows. Then we will look at what Process Builder offers beyond workflow rules. We will see how it allows us to evaluate multiple conditions, chain logic together, create records, and update related records all from one process. Next, we will go over the different types of actions Process Builder supports. This includes field updates, emails, tasks, outbound messages, launching flows, and even calling Apex code, all of which can run immediately or be scheduled. We will also talk about how criteria are evaluated. Process Builder lets you define multiple if branches and decide whether to stop or continue evaluating, giving you more control over how actions are triggered. To bring this to life, we will walk through real-world examples using a recruiting application. We will see how we can automate application status updates, schedule interviews, and notify recruiters, all using declarative tools. After that, we will cover some important considerations like bulkification, limits, performance, and versioning, things you should keep in mind to avoid common mistakes and build efficient processes. We will also take a look at the limitations of Process Builder. While it is powerful, there are scenarios where it falls short, like handling loops, complex logic, graceful error handling, which is why Salesforce is moving towards Flow. Finally, we will wrap up with a quick summary and a look ahead at Flow as the future of automation. This will help you not only understand Process Builder today, but also prepare of what's coming next. What is a process builder? Process builder is one of the core automation tools available in Salesforce. It allows you to build business logic visually by defining trigger conditions and actions, all without writing a single line of code. Compared to workflow rules, process builders can handle more complex logic within a single process, like branching conditions, related record updates, and even creating new records. It is especially useful for admins or non-developers who want to automate business processes quickly and visually. Although Salesforce is transitioning towards Flow as a long-term automation tool, understanding Process Builder is important for maintaining legacy logic and for migration planning. Think of it as a middle layer, more powerful than workflow rules, which are limited to one condition and a few actions, but less complex than flows, which offer advanced capabilities like loops, screens, and error handling. Process Builder is ideal for automating multi-step logic across objects, and it is widely used in legacy implementations. Understanding its role is important, not just for supporting existing applications, but for planning future migrations to Flow as well. Building on what we learned about workflow rules, process builders take automations further by offering more advanced features, all without writing code. One major advantage is the ability to define multiple criteria nodes evaluated in order. This is called chained criteria, and it allows you to set up branching logic. Like if condition A is true, do this, else if condition B is true, do something else. For example, in a recruiting app, if a job application is marked shortlisted, you might update the status and notify the recruiter. If it is marked rejected, you could send a feedback email instead, all within the same process. Another key improvement over workflow rules is that process builders can create new records. So you can automate things like creating an interview record when an application reaches a certain stage, something workflow rules couldn't do. You can also update related records using process builder. When workflow rules could only update parent records if they had a master detail relationship, process builder goes further. It can update related records regardless of whether the relationship is master detail or lookup. This means you can update an account from a contact even if it is a lookup, which wasn't possible in workflow rules without Apex. In addition, process builder can create or update child records, which is extremely useful for automating tasks like creating interview records when a job application is advanced, or updating all related tasks when an opportunity is closed. Finally, Process Builder lets you run multiple actions at once, such as updating fields, sending an email, and launching a flow, all from a single condition. This gives you much more flexibility and makes your automation logic easier to manage and visualize. Next, we will take a closer look at a specific actions that Process Builder supports and how you can use them effectively in your business processes. Now that we have seen what makes Process Builder powerful, like chain criteria, creating records, and updating related records, let us explore the types of actions you can perform within a process. You can call an Apex class to handle complex business logic that clicks alone can't achieve. For example, use it to connect with an external system to auto schedule interviews or send SMS notifications. Process Builder lets you create new records automatically when conditions are met. A typical use case is creating an interview record when a job application is moved to an approved stage. Email alerts can be triggered using predefined templates. This is useful for notifying a recruiter the moment a new application is received, helping them take quick action. You can launch flows from Process Builder, which allows for more advanced logic and branching. For example, use a flow to check if a candidate has the required experience and assign a reviewer accordingly. Charter posts can be created directly on records or in user or group feeds. A good example is posting a notification in the hiring team's charter group when a referral is submitted. Process Builder also allows you to invoke another process as a sub-process. This is helpful when you want to reuse a standard sequence of actions, like sending consistent follow-up messages across different automations. Quick actions can be launched automatically, such as logging a call or updating a field. For example, after an interview is completed, a log interview feedback quick action can be triggered to ensure data is captured properly. And if your org is integrated with Quip, you can create or update a Quip document. For instance, generate a live interview summary document and auto share it with the hiring team for collaboration. Process Builder supports sending custom in-app notifications. For example, a notification can appear in the bell icon or Salesforce mobile app when a candidate accepts their offer. You can also submit a record for approval automatically. This is useful when a job offer needs managerial review. The process kicks off a approval without requiring a user to manually submit it. You can update fields or unrelated records beyond just the one that triggered the process. For example, when a contact's status changes, you can update the related account's status too, whether it is a lookup or a master detail relationship. Building on the actions we just discussed, one of the key strengths of Process Builder is its ability to evaluate multiple sets of criteria in sequence, which lets you build more dynamic and flexible automation. This is controlled using two logic options: stop and evaluate next. With stop, the process stops as soon as it finds the first matching condition. This is useful when you want only the first applicable action to run, like a priority based rule where you don't want other conditions evaluated once a match is found. With evaluation next, the process continues checking all remaining criteria even after a match. This allows multiple criteria to trigger their own actions if they are all true. For example, in a recruiting process, one criteria can update the status to interview schedule, another can notify the hiring manager, a third can create a follow-up task, and all three can run if you choose evaluate next. This gives you a lot of control over how business logic is handled, and the visual layout of Process Builder makes it easy to follow, debug, and collaborate on, even for those who aren't developers. Next, we will look at real-world examples that bring all of this together in a recruiting scenario, so you can see exactly how these features help automate everyday workflows. Now let us see some examples on how to create a process builder and how to associate actions. In this example, the process builder is triggered when a job application record status changes to shortlisted. The process performs a sequence of actions like creating a record. An interview record is automatically created and linked to the candidate and job application. And I want to trigger an email invitation to the candidate with interview details and then post to a charter group, which is an internal group where recruiting team members are part of that group. And I want to notify all of these recruiting team members about the interview schedule so that they are up to date. This example demonstrates how actions, record creation, notifications, and collaboration can be chained to automate interview scheduling with zero manual intervention. Let us dive into how to create this process builder and associate these actions. I'm going to set up and typing process builder. I'm clicking on new button. Salesforce suggests you that flow builder is the future and it asks you to continue using flow builder. So you can continue in Process Builder for this demonstration. I want to demonstrate Process Builder. That's why I'm going ahead and clicking on continue in Process Builder. Remember, Salesforce does not allow anyone to create a Process Builder in production orgs. I'm clicking on continue in Process Builder. It will ask a name for Process Builder. So I'll say Java application process. It will generate an API name. You can give a description. You can execute on record change, or you can execute this as a platform event, or it can be invoked by another process, which is like a sub process. In this scenario, I want to execute this Process Builder whenever the job application record status changes to shortlisted. So I will go with record changes and I'll click on save. So this will open a user interface which looks similar to a flowchart, and it is easy for you to understand how the process flows. The first thing that you need to do after coming here is to select the object on which you want to write this Process Builder. So I'm clicking on add object and I'm going to select job application object. This screen provides you two different options. In workflow also, the first step is to select an object, and the second step is to select the evaluation criteria. So here it will give you the evaluation criteria. So you have an option to execute this when a record is created, or when a record is created or edited. And if you go to advanced, so you have one more option called recursion. Allow process to evaluate a record multiple times in a single save operation. Do you want to execute this process again for the modified record? If you want to do that, you can select yes. And remember, this will lead to performance issues. So I'm not selecting this option. I'm selecting when a record is created or edited, and click on save. If you remember, in workflow, after evaluation criteria is to write a rule criteria. Here also you can write a rule criteria by using add criteria button. So I'm clicking on add criteria. So I want to execute this Process Builder whenever the job application records status changes to shortlisted. So I'll give a name to this when stage is shortlisted. So conditions are met. So the conditions are met is similar to whatever you have seen in workflow. There you have criteria met. Similar is the conditions are met, and you can write criteria, rule criteria in two ways in workflow. You can either use criteria met option, or you can use a formula. Similar is the case here in Process Builder. You can find the field that you want to write the rule on. I'm selecting the stage field here, checking if stage is changed equal to true. I'm checking if it is changed. The next condition that I'm writing here is if stage value, if it is equals to the pick list value, in this case shortlisted. You can select either a pick list value, you can directly select a value. You can do a field reference and select one more field and check that one more field's value. The field can be from this object or from the parent object. You can select the global constant like Boolean values, true value, false value, or you can select a formula. So here the criteria met and formula evaluates true, both can be used together. So I want both conditions to be true. So I'm selecting all of the conditions are met. Here you have one more option, which is called, do you want to execute the actions only when specified changes are made to the record? If you remember, in workflow, in the evaluation criteria, there were three values. The third value is this value. So the evaluation criteria's third condition is part of rule criteria in Process Builder. So here I'm not selecting this option. I'm just leaving it as all conditions are met and clicking on save. Now, once this rule criteria is met, I want to perform some actions. I want to perform three actions when the job application record changes to shortlisted. I want to create a record, I want to send an email alert, and I want to post to Charter. So I'll click on add action. As I told in the previous slide, Salesforce provide you multiple actions. So workflow provides only 4 actions. You have around 11 actions that you can perform here. So here I want the first action that I want to perform is create record. In workflow, you can create only a task, but in Process Builder, you can create any record. So here I want to create an interview record. So I'm selecting the create record action. When you select that create record action, it will ask you to give a name for that action. So I'll call it as create interview record. So you have to select the respective object. The record type here specifies object name. So here I'm selecting interview object. Once you select the object, it will ask like what fields you want to add. You cannot skip object specific required fields. That's why they are automatically displayed here. So I want to give a name to this interview. Either you can do a string or you can do field reference, global constant, or formula. So let me use formula here and I'll click on build formula. So it will give you the formula editor. So you can build a formula here. The first text that I want to display is interview for. So I'm going to position object with arrow and select the title, position as a title. I'll choose that. I'm saying interview for, I'll close the double quotes here. I'll say concatenate operator plus, and I'm getting the name of position. So that's what I'll give name. The name for interview is interview for this position. So I'm clicking on use this formula. Then I want to add some more fields. I'll click on add row and click on save. Now that is one action. So I can add one more action by clicking on add action button. This time I want to send an email alert. I'll select email alert. So I'm saying invitation email to candidate with interview details. So I want to send email to the candidate. So I'll select an email alert. So I'm just using this reminder or send email notification to recruiter. But ideally what you have to do, you have to create a separate separate email template for this notification. So I'm selecting the existing notification just for demonstration purposes and clicking on save. And the third action that I want to perform when stage is shortlisted is I want to post to chatter. I'm saying post to recruiting team chatter group. So I've already created a recruiting team chatter group. I'll select chatter group and I'll find the group by typing the name of that. So I've already created this chatter group. I'm selecting that group, and this group has all my recruiting team. And you can give a message. An interview is scheduled for candidate first name. So this I'll put in double quotes plus first name. Then I want to add a space. Then I want to say candidate last name. For the position of, so I'll go to position and the title of position. So here also I'll say plus within double quotes, I'll add that string and clicking on save. So whenever the stage is shortlisted, I'm performing three actions. I'm creating an interview record, then I am sending an email alert, as well as posting to recruiting team. So in order to test this, let me activate it. Now let me go to recruiting application. So currently this is active. Let me go to the job application record and then change it to shortlisted. Now this will trigger my flow, and my flow will do multiple things. The first thing is it will create an interview record. Here if you see, you should see an interview, and if you see the name interview for awesome sales rep, this is being populated from the awesome sales rep position. From position it is getting the title and populating the title. The interview date is 7 days from today, and the meeting link, whatever, what coded and interviewer and everything is populated here. The second action is it will send an email notification. So if you see a new job application, that's the template that I'm using. So that's why I'm getting that template name. And the third action is it will post to the recruiting charter group. So I've already created a charter group. You go to charter, there is a group called recruiting team. If you see, an interview is scheduled for Jayaprakash Tatiparthi for position of awesome sales rep. In this way, you can perform a create record action, post to charter action, as well as an email alert action. In this next example, let us see some more actions. When a candidate accepts a job offer and the job application status is changed to offer accepted, this process builder should fire. The actions that I want to perform are update the related position records. Status should be updated to closed. And I want to send a custom notification to the HR manager notifying them of the accepted offer. And I want to submit the request record for approval so that it goes to the HR manager for review after the offer is accepted. This example shows how record updates, real-time notifications, and approval submissions can be combined in a single flow to support business critical workflows. In order to perform these actions, let us go back to the process builders and open this existing process builder job application process, which is active. In order to reuse it, I'll clone it and make a new version so that I can edit. So the advantage of process builders over workflows, as we discussed earlier, is we can perform more than one criteria in a single process. In workflow, you can only have one evaluation and rule criteria combination. But in process builder, you can have one evaluation criteria and multiple rule criteria. So I want to perform a different set of actions when the stage is different. So in this case, I'm selecting add criteria when the stage is changed equals to true and stage value equals to closed accepted. This means that the candidate has accepted the offer. And I'm saying all conditions are met, click on save. So you can have these multiple, when you have multiple criteria, you have an option to execute all criteria or stop with one criteria. So since offer stage can either be shortlisted or closed accepted, it cannot be both values. So it is better to stop when one condition is met and not execute the other conditions. But if you want to execute more than one condition, say assume that you have different criteria when shortlisted and some other field values. In that case, you can also evaluate the next criteria. So for this scenario, since the stage can either be this or this value, so I'm just stopping it when the condition is met. If the condition is not met, then it will go to the next condition and execute this. This is like your if then else block. So here I want to perform three actions. The first action that I want to perform is I want to update records. So I want to update position status to closed. Here you can update a child record as well as a parent record. So here I want to update is a related record. So I'll select a related record. So I'm selecting the position record, click on choose. Update records only when status is not equal to closed. I don't want to do any blind updates. I want to update only when status is not equal to closed. And what value you want to change, that's what you are going to set new field values. I want to change the status value to closed and click on save. So whenever this condition is met, the first action, what it does, it will update the status of the related position record to closed. So you can also update child records as part of your operation, which is not possible in case of workflows. Workflows, you can only update a parent if the parent is having a master detail relationship. Here, irrespective of whether it is a master detail or lookup, you can perform an update. Not only that, you can also update a child record. Currently, wherever you see underscore R, it means it's a child record. So Java application has interviews as a child record. If you want to perform update on all interview records, you can do that using a process builder. Now, the second action is to perform a custom notification. In order to use the custom notification action, you need to create a custom notification. Go to setup, and from setup, search for notifications. So you have custom notifications under notification builder. Click on new button, give a name to it, you can make it available on desktop or mobile. So I already created a after accepted notification. So I'm going to leverage that. So the second action that I want to perform is send a custom notification, and I want to send a notification to HR. In our previous example, we associated a HR with each candidate who is a senior resource. So I'll leverage that field, send a notification to that user. So the notification type will populate all the custom notifications that you have, provided you have access. I'm selecting offer accepted notification, and the recipient can be a user, a owner, or a group, or a queue. For this example, I'm using user. The user field from a record, I can get it from a record. Select here from Java application. I will go to candidate. Our candidate has a field called recruiter assignment, which has the ID field. So I'm getting the user ID from recruiter assignment. Every candidate has a recruiter assigned to them. So I want to notify that recruiter about this offer. So I'll just select choose. The notification can be sent here. You can give some text here. Candidate first name accepted the offer. The notification title, and you can have notification body. So you can give any text here. So you can also associate the position title so that the recruiter knows about it. And the target object is Java application object that started the process. I'll click on save. So a notification will be delivered to that particular HR user. The third action that I want to perform is submit for approval. I've already created an approval process for Java application object. I'm going to have a separate session on approval processes. I've already created offer finalization approval on the Java application object. I want to submit the Java application record for offer so that the HR can finalize everything. So for that, I'm actually going here, clicking an add action, and you have an action called submit for approval. Action name, submit Java application for approval process. So instead of default approval process, I'll select specific approval process. I'm selecting this offer finalization approval. Keep the entry criteria for this process. So I have an entry criteria, which is again the same criteria, closed accepted. So the condition is already tested, so I can skip it here. And submitter, I'm saying current user. Submission comments. J is submitted for approval. Then click on save. Then activate it. So let me go back to recruiting app, go to the Java application record, open the Java application. From shortlisted, I'm making this as closed accepted so that my process builder will execute. So my process builder has executed. I said like it is going to perform 3 different actions. The first action was updating the position record. Let me go to the position record and see the status if it is. So if you see status is closed, that's what I'm updating because someone has accepted the offer. So I want to close the position. The next action is send custom notification. When you click on the bell icon, that is where you see the custom notifications. Since the user is the recruiter who is assigned to this candidate was the same user as me. So that's why when I click on bell icon, you should see that the candidate in subject has accepted the offer and candidate name with offer is actually displayed here. This is the custom notification, which will be displayed under the bell icon in your mobile as well as your desktop application. The third action that we performed as part of this process was to submit for approval. Since I'm an admin, I'm able to edit this record, but other users will not be able to edit this record. It will be sent for approval. You can see that here. So when you go to the job application, so this job application, when you go to related records, you should see approval history. So the approval request was submitted and it is pending with HR review team. We are going to discuss in detail about approval process in our future sessions. In this example, we will walk through two advanced scenarios where Process Builder interacts with external systems using Apex actions and launches a flow. When offer is approved, we want to perform two actions. For the first action, we are launching an auto-launched flow from Process Builder after a job offer is approved. This flow performs backend validations and initiates follow-up tasks if any required fields or documents are missing. For the second action, we call an invocable Apex class that sends a JSON payload with offer details to an external HR system using a named credential and HTTP post. We will discuss named credentials and HTTP post in detail during our integration session. Let me demonstrate how to use these two actions that we discussed. I'm logging to my org and going to the process builder. So this is a process builder that we created. I want to make changes to the same process builder because my current requirement is on the same job application object. In order to make changes to the existing process builder, we need to clone it and use a different version. The first thing that I want to add here is to add the criteria, and I want to trigger these actions whenever the offer is accepted. I'll say when stage is offer extended. So here I'll use the same set of conditions. When stage is changed is not equal to stage is changed is true, and stage value equals to offer extended. And I'll click on save. For launching a flow, we need to have an existing flow. So for this demonstration, I've already created a flow called validate offers and collect documents. We will discuss flow in detail in our next session, but to give some background, it creates tasks by validating offer details and by also validating if the documents are uploaded or not. It will create one more task if document updates are missing. I want to launch this flow from the process builder. The flow should be defined as a no triggered auto launched flow so that it can be run in the background and doesn't display any screens. Let me click an action and use the close action. I want to trigger the flow for validation, so I'm calling it as validate offer and collect documents, and I will trigger the launched flow that I already created. So the flow name is validate offer and collect documents, and for this it expects an input variable. So I'll click on add row, click on the variable. I want to pass the job application ID to this flow, field reference job application record ID, and click on save. The next action that I want to perform is to send the offer related information to the HR system. For that, I have already created an Apex class called offer integration service. This class sends an HTTP request to a HR system with information related to the offer. I don't have a third-party HR system, so I created a mock server in Postman, and that is responding me with some data. For sending this HTTP request in a secured fashion, I have created a named credential called mock offer service. I'll send the request to this offer endpoint, which is developed using the mock server, and this will respond me with some acknowledgement. And after getting an acknowledgement, I'm updating a field on the job application record. Now let me go back to process builder and try to execute this Apex class. So for that, I'll click on add action, select Apex. I'll call this as send offer info to HR system. The name of the Apex class is send offer details to HR system, and this also requires an input variable called job application ID. I'll pass the job application ID using field reference. I'll send the record ID to this and click on save. One more action that I want to talk about is the Quip action. Using Salesforce Quip integration, we can automatically generate or attach a predefined onboarding checklist as a Quip document to the candidate record. This helps streamline onboarding and gives recruiters a collaborative document to manage tasks like system access, welcome emails, and induction scheduling. We won't demonstrate this step now, but it is important to understand that Salesforce offers native Quip actions through Flow or Apex. This requires a setup and licensing. That is the reason I am not able to demonstrate it here. Now let us see this in action. For that, I'm activating this. Then I'll go to job application record and I will trigger this criteria by changing the stage to offer extended and click on save. Here, if you see the start date, the offered salary, ID proof uploaded, resume uploaded, these four fields are empty. So whenever these four fields are empty, I want to notify the recruiter that these fields are empty and I want him to fill these data before actually proceeding further. So for that, I'm creating two tasks. So you'll find two tasks here. And I'm also sending offer details to HR system. Whenever the information is received from by the HR system, it is going to send an acknowledgement back and I'm updating this checkbox field to check. checked. So let me click save. Once you click on save, you will observe that there are two upcoming tasks that are assigned to the recruiter. And if you refresh the screen, you'll also see that this offer details sent to HR system is updated to checked. In this last example, I want to demonstrate the last set of actions like updating child records, invoking another process builder, and invoking a quick action. When a job application is rejected, I want to do some cleanup activities like updating the interview records to cancelled and invoking another process builder to update the position status back to open. I also want to perform a quick action to create a follow-up task so that the recruiter can reach to the candidate and get feedback and other information on why he rejected the offer and feed it back to the application record. Now let us see how to perform these three actions. So let me go to the process builder. In order to perform any action, I need to clone it. I'm cloning as a new version. Then I click on add criteria, and the criteria is when stage is closed rejected. The formula I want to say stage is changed is true and stage value is equal to closed rejected. First action that I want to do is date records action. So here I want to update interview records status to cancel. So if there are any scheduled interviews, I want to cancel all of them. So the record type I want to say select a record related to job application because I want to update child records. Anything with a plural word is a child record. So here in this case, I want to do interview. The name is interviews underscore underscore or click on choose. So the criteria that I want to add here is when the status is equal to scheduled or status is equal to reschedule. If there are any scheduled or rescheduled interviews, I want to cancel them. So I want to update the status to cancel. Then click on save. So you can also invoke another process from this existing process. So for demonstrating that, I created one more process builder called set available openings. So this process builder is very simple. It is on position object. It is checking, updating the status to open. So it will just do a update to status to open without any criteria. It is just updating the status back to open. Since the job application, the offer was rejected, so I want to reopen this position. So I want to call this sub process. From this process, I'll click on add action, select the action as processes. So I'll say reopen closed position and I'll call this set available openings. For this, expect the entire position object. I'll say field reference and I'll send the position object from here. So I'll click on save. And the last action that I want to demonstrate was quick actions. So we have already discussed about quick actions in our earlier sessions. For this demonstration, I've already created a quick action called as follow-up rejection. It creates task record. If you open this, it creates a task record with predefined values. Remember one thing, that a process builder cannot show a user interface. That's why it is required for you to pre-populate all these values. Now I want to call this from my process builder. I'll click on add action and select quick actions. Action name is create follow-up task. So here you can select either a global action or object specification action or any type. I'm selecting object specific action. The object on which it is defined is Java application and the action is called follow-up rejection, and it will ask some required fields. Here related record ID. So here I'll say field reference. I want to get related record ID, which is Java application record ID, and assign to ID. I want to assign it to Java applications recruiter and click on save. So this use case demonstrates how to manage record dependencies, chain automations using multiple processes, and incorporate user actions all with process builder. Now let me activate this and let me demonstrate. I'll go back to my Java application. Now instead of offer extended, I will make it as closed rejected. So whenever it is closed rejected, so it is going to execute three actions that I have added just now. It will update the interview records to cancelled if there are any scheduled interviews, and it will invoke another process which will update the position status to open. So let me go to position, and if you see the position status is closed. The reason it is closed because in my earlier process builder action, when I changed it to closed accepted, I changed the status to closed because someone accepted the offer. Now I want to reopen. So it will reopen this position. So I'll go here, I'll click on close rejected and I'll click on save. That's the second action. Third action, it will perform a quick action and it will create a follow-up task. I'll click on save. Once I click on save, if you observe, there is a fill offer details follow-up task is created. This is coming from your quick action. Then the status of your position is closed. And the third thing that it does is it will close all the related interviews. So there are no interviews. That's why I'm not able to demonstrate it here. If there are scheduled, rescheduled interviews, and it will close them or cancel them. In this single example, in one single process, we have seen all different types of actions. 3 actions when shortlisted, 3 actions when it is closed accepted. I'm doing 2 actions when after the offer is extended, and I'm performing like 3 actions when it is rejected. So there are total 11 actions that Process Builder supports. Here we already have 11 because we are doing 2 update actions. In the previous slides, we saw how Process Builder can automate recruiting workflows and reduce manual effort. But before implementing these automations in real business scenarios, there are some important considerations to keep in mind. First, let us talk about performance. Process Builder can impact system performance, especially when you have many criteria nodes, actions, or nested processes. Be mindful of execution time and try to keep your processes as lean and targeted as possible. Process Builder in runtime is converted to a flow, and the amount of time it takes to convert to a flow is a performance overhead. Always test your automation in a sandbox environment before moving to production. Make sure your processes work as expected and don't conflict with other automations like validation rules, flows, or Apex triggers. Then we have org limits. While Salesforce doesn't enforce a hard limit on the number of active processes per object, having too many can impact performance and make automation harder to manage. Also keep in mind there are limits on governor resources like CPU time, DML operations, and the number of executed flow interviews. So it is important to design efficient, consolidated processes and test them thoroughly. Finally, let us touch on debugging and troubleshooting. Unlike flows, Process Builders doesn't have a visual debugger, but you can still use debug logs to trace what is happening behind the scenes. Logging field updates, scheduled actions, and system errors can help you identify problems and refine your logic. Process Builder's performance degrades when you have multiple record in a transaction. It does not work great in bulk operations. By keeping these factors in mind, you will not only build more efficient and scalable processes, but you will also reduce the risk of surprises in production. In the next slide, we will look at some limitations of Process Builder that are important to consider, especially as Salesforce moves towards flow as the future of automation. While Process Builder is powerful and easy to use, it does come with some important limitations that you should be aware of when designing automation strategies. First, cross-object field updates are restricted. Process Builders can only update related records that are one level away, such as updating a parent account from a contact, but it can't reach beyond one relationship level, which limits its ability to handle deeply nested or more complex record structures. Another challenge is versioning and change management. While Process Builder does allow you to create and activate, deactivate different versions of a process, it lacks the granular version history, visual comparison tools, and sandbox deployment flexibility that Flow offers. This can make it harder to track detailed changes, test new logic independently, or collaborate in teams, especially in complex or regulated environments. In terms of error handling, Process Builder is quite limited. There is no built-in way to catch or manage errors like you can in Flow. So if a process fails, for example, due to a field mismatch or missing lookup, it quietly fails and you may only catch it by digging into debug logs. And while Salesforce doesn't limit the number of active processes per object directly, you are still subject to overall platform limits like CPU time, number of flow interviews, and total automation complexity per transaction. In larger orgs with many automations, these limits can be reached quickly and affect performance. That's why Salesforce now recommends using Flow for all new automation, since it is more scalable, better supported, and future-proof. As we move to the conclusion, we will talk about what this means for your long-term automation strategy and how to plan your transition from Process Builder to Flow. In the previous slide, we explored the key limitations of Process Builder. As Salesforce continues to phase out Process Builders in favor of flows, it is essential for organizations to start planning their migration. While Process Builder brought powerful features like chain criteria, related record updates, and record creation, it now sits behind Flow in terms of flexibility, scalability, and future support. Choosing between the two tools should depend on your org's needs, but the long-term strategy should clearly focus on adopting Flow, since it is the most capable and actively enhanced automation tool in the Salesforce platform. In upcoming sessions, we will dive deeper into how Process Builder shaped workflow automation and how you can transition to Flow smoothly without disrupting existing business processes. As we have discussed, Salesforce is gradually deprecating Process Builders in favor of Flows, which offers far more flexibility, scalability, and control. While Process Builder served as a powerful bridge between workflow rules and Flow, the future of automation in Salesforce is clearly flow based. That means now is the right time to start planning your migration. Transitioning to flow isn't just a technical shift, it's a strategic opportunity. You will need to assess your current automations, map them to flow equivalents, and identify areas where flow can improve or consolidate your logic. The good news is flow offers major benefits: better error handling, modular design, support for user screens, decision branches, loops, and even Lightning Web Component integration. But don't rush the move. A successful migration requires careful planning and testing, collaboration between admins, developers, and business users, training for those who build and maintain automations. With the right preparation, you will not only future-proof your Salesforce org, but also unlock powerful automation possibilities that weren't achievable with process builders alone. Before we wrap up, I want to remind you that all of these Salesforce training sessions, including this one, are organized in sequence on my website, trailblazertutor.com. If you are following along on YouTube, be sure to check the video description. I have included the link there so you can access the full learning path, assignments, and downloadable content in the right order. It is designated to guide you step by step, whether you are starting from scratch or looking to deepen your expertise as an admin or developer. Also, if you found this video helpful, please take a moment to like the video, subscribe to the channel, turn on notifications so you never miss a new session. It really supports the channel and helps more learners discover these free training resources. Thank you for being part of the Trailblazer Tutor community. Let us keep learning and growing together.